Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off after our first mission in which we utilized a regular 5-person squad, and as a result things went pretty smoothly. At the end of the video we also unlocked the black market and I left you guys with a question regarding which of the numerous goods, services and personnel we should acquire. And well, you were all pretty much of the same opinion, so in just a moment we are going to spend some of our valuable intel to grab ourselves a second engineer. Before we do though, I quickly want to mention that I have installed 3 quality of life mods, which are all linked down below in the video description. The first one is Overwatch All, so now we can put the entire squad on Overwatch with just a single button. The second is Gotcha Again, which improves some of the line of sight, flanking, hacking and squad sight indicators, which makes planning our moves a little bit more convenient. And the third one is Detailed Soldier Lists, which displays a lot more information about our soldiers in the armory, information that we would otherwise need to go into the individual soldier screens for. Very importantly though, none of these mods change any of the gameplay mechanics, so the game is not becoming any easier or harder because of them. Now, one more thing before we enter the black market, we have a soldier bond to confirm. Praetor Mox and Grenadier Nicholas Finlay seem to get along well, and skirmishers are actually pretty useful candidates for this, so let's confirm their bond. One thing I should also mention, by the way, having bonded soldiers on a mission together actually also decreases the rate at which they lose will for encountering enemies, taking hits, etc., meaning they tire less frequently. As far as I know, the game never actually mentions this anywhere, but especially early on it is a pretty useful mechanic.
Think the elders will like this one?
So, with the 2 of them bonded and photographed, let us visit the bridge now and immediately enter the black market.
Commander, we've got local resistance forces waiting to make contact, but we'll have to make the first move.
Market is open.
And yes, Bradford reminds us that we need to make contact with the resistance, but for now we are actually slowing down our progress on that front by spending some intel on an engineer. Having a second engineer will make the early game flow much more easily, although it does come at the cost of 105 intel, slightly more than 2/3 of what we currently have. The ability to make contact with the next region therefore moves a bit further into the distance, but to make up for that, we now secure the services of Dr. Baron von H, submitted by the patron supporter of the same name, as are all other characters who appear in this series. And this guy, nicknamed Bazza, is certainly a mysterious figure, his biography posing more questions than it answers. A former redacted Baron was identified as having a special aptitude for redacted. A fierce opponent of Advent, Baron has spent several years fighting for a local resistance group in the southwest of Australia. And now he is fighting for us, or at least engineering, as we can put Baron on digging duty and have him excavate some alien machinery. Now, this will take some time, quite a bit longer than alien debris, and it can be done by 2 engineers simultaneously to speed up the process, but for now we only have the one to spare, so let's get started, and in 60 days we will then have our next building space. Or perhaps a little bit earlier than that, because with no other important locations to scan on the world map, we are now bringing the Avenger over to the Skirmisher HQ, which allows us to build faster. What this means is that all active construction and excavation projects will now progress twice as fast as long as we scan at this location.
If you've got the time, we have a little bit of a situation here that could benefit from your help.
However, it looks like we won't be getting to that anytime soon, as the Reapers have a mission for us. And well, this is perhaps a bit of a cruel joke. Having just purchased an engineer, the mission would now give us one for free, alongside some additional intel and 2 corporal level soldiers, a sharpshooter and a ranger. This is without a doubt one hell of a potential reward, but had I known that before, I definitely would have saved the intel. In any case, it looks like the mission won't be that easy. Not only do we have Lost present at the mission site, there is also a chance for the Chosen Hunter to make an appearance, and we did already complete 2 missions in West Africa after the last appearance, so now there is a 50% chance for them to show up again, and if that doesn't happen, then the appearance is guaranteed on the next mission here. Either way, this could be an interesting mission with lots of things going on at the same time, so let's embark and see what we're dealing with.
Commander, you should be aware. We're detecting lost activity in this area. Our forces will need to be especially vigilant.
Remember what Tygan said. These new weapons are one of a kind. If we leave them on the battlefield, they'll be lost to us forever.
And yes, after securing these weapons of the hunt from the Alien Hunters DLC in the last episode, we are now getting a quick overview over all of them. The first is the Boltcaster, a powerful weapon with double the base damage of an assault rifle and with a chance to stun enemies, albeit also only able to fire a single shot before it needs to be reloaded, so it is not always a clear upgrade over its alternative. The Shadowkeeper, meanwhile, is straight up better than the regular pistol, dealing the same amount of damage, but receiving bonuses to both base hit chance as well as critical hit chance. The Hunter's Axe then replaces the Ranger's Sword and is once again clearly the better choice, dealing more damage and also coming with an extra axe that can be thrown as a free action. Finally, we have the Frost Bomb, a unique grenade which does not deal any direct damage, but instead freezes people for one turn, albeit in a slightly smaller radius than the regular grenade. So this one is once again a bit more situational, but all in all these are definitely powerful weapons and we want to use them. The squad that gets to test them out today then consists of the bonded pair of Grenadier Cake Twitchy Grace and Specialist Ash Womenian Angmar, as well as Reaper Dragonova, Sharpshooter Alyssa Sapphire West and Ranger Fast Starfall Antak. And we're starting with Schwamenian, who will now exchange his assault rifle for the Boltcaster. You can see the stats of the new weapon on the right. Base damage is increased from 3 to 5 to 6 to 8, and there is also a 15% aim bonus as well as a 20% chance to stun the target.
It may only provide a single shot action, but this thing hits hard. Even an edge hit could potentially stun the target.
And we are not done yet. Schwamenian will also carry the Frost Bomb into battle, sacrificing a bit of damage potential for a more utility-focused item, but perhaps one that could come in handy.
The charges in this grenade don't seem all that powerful, but according to Shen, the liquefied gases inside should lead to an instantaneous freeze effect.
Moving on then, we have Sharpshooter Sapphire West, who first of all now receives that scope that we picked up last time to give a sniper rifle a 5% aim bonus. In my opinion, an absolute no-brainer on someone with squad sight who can shoot halfway across the map, but we're not done. Unsurprisingly, I think, she now also receives the Shadowkeeper pistol, which actually has its own unique ability. Shadowfall is a shot that can be fired once per mission and is guaranteed to hit, and if it kills the target, Alyssa gains concealment. Arguably a bit more useful on a gunslinger build that actually moves a lot, but consider it a bonus on top of the various other improvements.
The way this one is sighted in, there's no excuse for missed shots.
Finally, we are now giving Ranger Starfall Antak the Hunter's Axe, or technically the two of them, which again, you can see it on the right, boosts his minimum damage from 3 to 4, while otherwise being statistically the same. We'll see if we actually get to throw one. The accuracy over medium distances is a little bit better than the shotgun, and again it's a free action, but we can only do it once.
It may be a little unwieldy, but in the right hands, this thing should cut down anything standing in your way.
And so here we are, a full squad with brand new, albeit somewhat antique looking equipment. Let's see how they do in action.
Sky Ranger deploy.
Squad green to deploy.
We picked up an emergency transponder signal from one of the resistance factions. Some of their people were attacked by Advent and forced to take refuge in one of the old abandoned cities. Contact was lost before they could establish a rendezvous point, and they need us to lead the rescue. The faction is sending us one of their soldiers to help with the operation. The VIP and our resistance contact are hunkered down and holding positions somewhere in this area. Our highest priority is locating them first, but keep an eye out for any additional survivors nearby. Once you've secured the targets, move to the designated coordinates for extraction. Keep your heads up out there, people.
Our group is hidden.
These two are working together like a well-oiled machine. As long as we keep them close to each other in the field, they'll reap various tactical benefits as their bond continues to grow.
Alright, so we have arrived and received a quick reminder about the fact that we have a pair of bonded soldiers with us in Twitchy and Schwamenian, and in the top left corner you can see that we also have a set of different objectives, none of which actually mention clearing out the enemies in the area. Instead, we need to locate and evacuate the VIP, this would be the engineer Isaac Schmidt, and optionally we can also do the same with the two resistance operatives, the Ranger and the Sharpshooter. All of their locations are already marked on the map here, so we know where to go, although actually getting there could be a bit more challenging. So let's get to it. We can start scouting with our Reaper here, which immediately locates the first group of enemies.
The invaders send a patrol.
Just a sectoid and a trooper, nothing too crazy, but since there is no mission timer on this one, let's take our time setting up an ambush. Our enemies then move a little bit further to the right. That is somewhat inconvenient, but manageable, I think. And we also get the first lost turn, although no action on it so far. Believe me though, those lost will show up sooner or later, and remember, they do not discriminate between Aliens, Advent and XCOM, so we might actually be able to use them to our advantage. For now though, let's set things up further, get Sharpshooter West up onto the high ground and keep moving forward with Dragonova.
I am trusting you.
Okay, now this reveals our first resistance contact, the Sharpshooter, as well as 3 lost. Very importantly though, the Sharpshooter is not considered an active part of this mission until we enter that blue radius around them, so we can simply let them stand there until it is safe to approach, which at the moment it very much isn't. This is by far the biggest advantage we have on this mission. There is no need for speed when it comes to the extraction of both the VIP or the 2 soldiers. They will happily stand around and neither Advent nor the Lost will attempt to harm them until we decide to make them an active part of this engagement. Once we do, the 2 soldiers will also actually be able to fight for us, so we could end up with 7 soldiers in total on this mission, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, we can keep moving everyone into position to attack the first alien pod, and we can also see the new Overwatch All mod in action here. One quick button press will now allow us to put all available soldiers on Overwatch at the same time.
I'll watch
Moving to Overwatch.
Now, here's where we can see the aliens and the Lost interact with each other in a beautiful way. The troopers' movement activated the Lost, who are now immediately swarming out. All of that happens on the aliens' turn, however, who then get a reaction of their own to dash into cover, and then it's the Lost's turn, who, already active, can now move and attack. All of that leads to the convenient early death of the Advent Trooper, while the Sectoid and the Lost Brood have moved behind the truck here.
Closing on target position now. We've been spotted!
Peeking around the corner with Schwaminian reveals our squad, but that's okay, we are still in a good position to take both enemies out. Instead of going after the Sectoid, however, we will aim for the Brute, as the Boltcaster's 6 points of damage will kill it no matter what.
Hostile neutralized.
And since this was a Lost, the shot is considered a free action, so Schwaminian can now reload, something he could not have done had he fired at the Sectoid. That Sectoid, meanwhile, will now be the target of a slash attack from Ranger Starfall Antag, who could have done 10 points of damage thanks to his Blade Master skill and the Sectoid's melee vulnerability, but only ends up with 9. That means we need one more person to deliver the killing blow.
Moving to designated coordinates.
Let's see if Twitchy is up for the task. Alright, first group of hostiles down, but there are 2 more Lost active not too far away from us. And to avoid them becoming a problem, we can now call upon the reliable sniping services of Sapphire West.
Hostile target down.
And there we go, all enemies cleared out for now, time to reload and to keep scouting with our Reaper. We definitely want to find out whether or not it's safe to activate that Sharpshooter.
As you order, Commander.
Right now though, it looks like the next wave of Lost will be coming in from our left, so let's end the turn here and see what happens next.
Savor the moment.
Okay, as I had feared, this mission has just become a little bit more spicy. The Hunter is here, same traits as last time, and unfortunately we don't have a skirmisher with us for that extra damage, but perhaps the new and improved melee capabilities of Ranger Starfall Antag will come in handy.
It's looking like your last.
Commander, one of the Chosen is here. We'll have to deal with it before it throws off the rest of our operation. Sounds like the Lost are getting a lot closer to our position, Commander. Prepare for more incoming.
To make matters worse, we also have a lost swarm about to appear on the next turn, and a few stragglers are already advancing on our position as well. Still, there is no point in sitting tight and waiting for things to get worse, so let's dash up with Dragonova here, carefully avoiding to activate that sharpshooter.
A patrol is upwind. There's
We
the
have a
objective.
visual confirmation on the VIP. Remember, getting that VIP to the extraction point supersedes all other priorities. Don't let anything happen to him.
Now, not only do we now have a visual on the VIP engineer, who will remain where he is for a little while longer, I think. The main reason we did this is to see whether our inactive sharpshooter would have line of sight of any other advent troops that would then get activated as a result of the sharpshooter becoming active. And it looks like that is the case with a pair of stun lancers and a sectoid over by the boat, so let's leave our guy inactive for the time being, and instead activate those enemies by shooting a Lost in their sight range.
X-ray neutralized.
Once again, this now pits Advent versus Lost, with us staying in the background, and having those melee-focused stun lancers on this mission is actually huge, as they are very susceptible to getting swarmed because they just cannot resist getting up close and personal. Additionally, with both parties already active, they do not get any further reaction moves as a result of seeing one of our soldiers, which means Starfall can safely move up here and try his luck.
Target neutralized.
And well, the first shot was free, so we might as well see if he can make another one against the sectoid. Alright, that misses, but that's okay. Still, we do want to focus our fire on the much tougher alien enemies for now, just to give the Lost a better chance of finishing them off for us. Sadly though, despite the flank, Alyssa just deals minimum damage against the Lancer here, and then we actually make a small mistake by moving up with Grenadier Twitchy. Doing so just puts her into sight range of those Lost on the left who now come moving in, at least two of them, with a third heading for Advent, so let's hope that she can take them both out. Being regular Lost though and not dashers, I don't think that they will be able to get into striking range in one turn. Ultimately, our concerns were unfounded anyway, as Twitchy strikes true, and we can get ready for the enemy turn by not putting Schwaminian on Overwatch, as that would leave him with no ammo at the beginning of his turn, and that would not be ideal. Okay, so far so good. The sectoid only raises a zombie, nothing to worry about there for now, while both stun lancers have it out for the Lost, with embarrassing results. Still, this is not the time to celebrate, as it is now the Hunter's turn, and the grapple here already suggests that they are looking to strike.
I will revisit the pain you inflicted on me in our last battle 1,000 times over on all your troops, Commander. Starting with these.
That's one of the Chosen. Heads up.
Let's get this over with.
Alright, really unfortunate that our two soldiers are standing this close together. Now they are both dazed as a result of the grenade, and things get worse. Even though this was not a frag grenade, the explosion still counts and immediately triggers the appearance of the Lost Swarm. Yes, this is still the Hunter's turn, although the Lost will get to act immediately afterwards. Without this grenade, the Swarm would have appeared on the Lost's turn. Now it is already here though, and that means the 12 Lost that just spawned in now all get to act. In other words, this is going to get dicey, both for us and for Advent. Let's see how it plays out. Now, it looks like we have a few dashers here making moves for our two dazed soldiers, as well as for Schwaminian in the back, but on the bright side, the two Lancers are also getting absolutely clobbered right now. So far though, both of them survive, and that means it is now probably time to say goodbye to that flawless mission rating. Okay, so despite the daze, Twitch actually dodges the attack, but Starfall is not so lucky, and neither is Schwaminian.
That looked like it hurt.
Alright, that one hurt. Damn it, one of our soldiers is down. They're vulnerable to the Chosen's attacks in that state. Get them back on their feet ASAP.
Alright, so here's the situation. We have about 20 enemies currently active, including Lost and Advent, a sectoid and their zombie, not to mention the Hunter, who normally would demand all of our attention already. In this case, though, we probably cannot afford to do that. With 2 soldiers also dazed and unable to act, figuring out what to do on this next turn actually took me a good 20 minutes, simply because of the sheer number of enemies involved and the many ways that this situation could turn from bad to much worse. Still, priority number 1 is probably to get Twitchy and Starfall back into the fight, and we'll use Schwaminian for that, but not before getting that Dasher out of the way.
Hostile neutralized.
Sadly, our 2 dazed soldiers are not close enough together so that we can revive them both from the same spot, so since Twitchy is his bondmate, that's Schwaminian's first target. Now, this moves her from dazed to disoriented, which isn't that much better. She only has half a turn now, receives penalties to movement, range and accuracy, and also cannot use any of her abilities, including grenades. Up next then, we'll take 2 more or less guaranteed kills with Sapphire West and her Shadowkeeper pistol. These are the only Lost with 2 hit points in pistol range, however.
Target eliminated.
So with our next move, we reveal our Reaper, and unfortunately have to move her just outside of the revive radius for Starfall and Tag,
The shadows fail us.
so that we don't expose her to a flank from the Hunter, and also to still be in range to throw her Claymore at them.
I'll leave this here.
Now this ends her turn, but makes Twitchy suddenly useful again, because hitting a Claymore is guaranteed no matter how many aim penalties you have. So that's the Hunter's armor and cover gone. The Lost are of course also drawn closer, but we can't afford to consider that right now. Schwaminian meanwhile will use the second half of his turn to move into a slightly dangerous position and revive our Ranger. Yes, reviving is a free action and can still be performed at the end of the turn.
So, you're going for the rescue, eh, Commander? I was wondering if you'd risk it, given your past.
And despite his aim penalties, Starfall's shot against the Lost here is almost guaranteed. And it connects, which means we get to act again and can now actually throw his axe at the Hunter. Only a 71% hit chance, but being disoriented, that's about as good as it gets.
Where did you dig that thing up? It's probably older than you are.
Okay, critical hit, that is huge, although the thrown axe does not count as a melee weapon for the purposes of the Hunter's brittle weakness. Still, throwing the axe is a free action too, so we can still move Starfall into cover here afterwards.
Affirmative, moving out.
Then it's Alyssa's turn, who can first fire her Shadowkeeper as a free action using the Lightning Hands ability. That connects and also crits, albeit just for 3 points of damage.
I'll chalk that up to beginner's luck.
And with 1 shot left in her sniper rifle, firing that is what we will now do to end our turn, again hoping that the high crit chance comes through.
We only need the commander alive. It's open season on the rest.
Okay, so the Hunter is still alive and we will probably take some more damage on this turn from the Lost. However, the mind control on our Ranger here actually might work in our favor, as it removes the dazed effect, so if we can kill the sectoid on the next turn, Starfall will be fully functional again. In the meantime, we can watch the Stun Lances and the Lost go at it. Although Advent is by far our smallest concern right now, I am pretty sure that they will sooner or later be wiped out by the Lost. The Hunter, meanwhile, regains some health and retreats onto the high ground, an excellent sniping position that I hope won't get used against us.
Let's try something else. She never fails me. Most are like fish in a barrel. Unfortunately for you, you live in the same barrel.
Okay, one more big advantage of having a Lost around. The Hunter is for some reason easily distracted by them. Not really the kind of behavior one would assume from an eldest chosen, but will gladly take it. The Lost then further move the 2 stun lancers towards their demise, but thankfully the swarm remains absent for one more turn. The next explosion should draw it out though.
The only thing on the line here is your planet, Commander. No pressure.
And because it looks like we already took out most of the dashers, none of the Lost actually managed to get off any attacks against us this turn. Let's hope we can keep it that way. Now, as if this mission wasn't already spicy enough, we're going to make it even more interesting by completely ignoring what I just said about the next explosion, because after finishing off a few more Lost, we are now recloaking Dragonova.
You're not the top of the food chain anymore, Reaper.
And use her remote start ability on the truck here to kill 6 enemies in one go, unlocking the Born in the Darkness achievement.
So easily set aflame. Now, this immediately triggers the next swarm, removes the mind control on our ranger, and on the first attempt also caused my game to crash. Luckily, there are autosaves and the map is now looking a little bit clearer, at least in our vicinity. Things are still pretty packed next to the boats, and another swarm is coming soon too. Still, let's keep at it and use Shwaminian here to reload, shoot, earn a promotion, and then move into cover. After a few more reloads on Alyssa, Starfall and Twitchy, we then end our turn with a round of Overwatches. The Hunter is sadly too far away to do anything useful here, especially with Twitchy still disoriented.
Come get some.
On Overwatch!
On the alien's turn, the Lancer then dashes deep into the swarm, likely signing his death wish, while the Hunter takes aim at us and thankfully misses.
There's heavy fire in this zone.
The swarm of Lost, meanwhile, runs towards us, at least most of them, triggering some reaction fire.
Target's still up!
Target neutralized.
It looks though as if none of them will actually be able to strike at us on this turn, which is definitely a huge relief. In addition, the Lost also take care of the Lancer, who drops some loot for us.
Getting nervous yet?
So we absolutely want to get over there before that timer expires. Now, Twitchy is no longer disoriented, and I think it's time to get rid of the Hunter for good before they seriously hurt anyone, and to do that we are now actually activating that sharpshooter.
I am at your service.
That's one of the contacts we were looking for, but there are still others in the area.
And here we are, we now have full control over Bartosz B, nicknamed Smoo. Their full biography will follow once, or better if, they make it back to the base. For now though, we can keep moving Dragonova towards the loot and use the convenient starting position of Mr. B to take a flanking shot at the Hunter.
Negative damage.
You sure you're up to this?
Sadly though, our latest recruit does not make a good first impression and misses, which means, as much as I hate to do this, it is time for yet another explosive. Getting the grenade just right took a few moments here, but this should hit just the way we need it to.
Get ready for a surprise!
And there we are, 4 points of damage from the grenade, plus another 4 from fall damage. The Hunter is almost dead, but did unfortunately also drop behind full cover. Before we get back to them, we can take a few guaranteed kills with Sharpshooter West and Ranger Antac, and I think we can slightly speed this up. Taking 100%ers is not the most exciting thing in the world. Eventually then, we have run out of Lost and or ammunition to kill them, which brings us to Shwaminian and his very special bond with Twitchy. Since Ranger Starfall is just one tile short of being able to hit the Hunter with his grenade, we now use the teamwork ability to give Twitchy, who has already ended her turn, another action.
You have the power.
Just one, so not a full turn, but one is enough to fire that grenade launcher a second time and guarantee that the Hunter goes away.
This is for you!
ever take me down more than once, Commander. Don't get cocky. I'll be back to finish this later.
I'm sure we'll see them again, but that Chosen sure wasn't expecting the fight we put up today, Commander.
Alright, the hunter is dead, Twitchy receives a promotion, and we have triggered another swarm, this time likely a bit too close to us, but it also looks to be a little smaller, or the other half is hiding in the shadows somewhere. In either case, there is not really a whole lot we can do against them at this point, so let's get some reloads in, activate Overwatch, and hope for the best.
Scanning. Yeah, I didn't get it. All right, that one hurt.
Okay, so Twitchy took some damage, but in light of the situation I think that was unavoidable, but everyone else remains safe for now, and I think we should be able to keep it that way for the rest of the mission. All alien forces, by the way, have been eliminated, so at this point it is only down to us versus the Lost. We somehow need to get to the other side of that horde and move everyone into the extraction zone, including the VIP and that second soldier who we have both not yet activated. We start off our turn with a round of guaranteed pistol shots from sharpshooters Sapphire West and Smooth B, and then we can dash Dragonova towards the loot.
I understand.
We pick up another scope and a PCS, a personal combat sim. We'll talk about those later.
Our prize is secure.
For now, we can also take a first look at the ranger we will recruit shortly, but before we do that, let's kill a few more Lost. Ranger Starfall empties his entire magazine here, while Twitchy retreats a little bit first before taking aim herself. Both shots connect though, and Bond Mage Verminion is successful with his one and only shot as well, leaving the rest to Miss West. Her sharpshooting partner, meanwhile, dashes all the way back to us to get away from the remaining Lost, and that concludes our turn.
Moving to Overwatch.
The Lost keep advancing, but no new swarm appears, and so we're quickly back to killing them off, and for the first time in a long while, the battlefield actually looks somewhat clean. With no more enemies in sight, we can now also finally start moving towards the evac zone, and we can also finally activate that ranger.
Looks like you found one of the other resistance operatives that was deployed in this area. I'm sure they'll be glad to see you.
So, meet Jan Sobieski, nickname Hussar, our 7th active soldier on this mission, and the guy who can now start the rescue of our VIP engineer.
Stepping off.
He doesn't quite get there in one move though, so while we're stuck here, let's activate another round of Overwatches and wait out the alien turn.
On Overwatch. Affirmative. Covering now. Scanning.
No new enemies then spawn in, which is nice and means that we can now finally make contact with our VIP.
Menace 1-5, you've got the primary targets in tow. Secure any additional operatives if possible, but make sure you get our contacts to the evac point.
Alright, Dr. Isaac Schmidt has been retrieved. At this point our only objective is to get all 8 people into the evac zone, which will likely take 2 or 3 more turns. Since we can expect a few more Lost to show up until then, we are not just going for dashes here. Instead, we will split everyone's turns into moving and overwatching. After all, we cannot really afford to take any more injuries.
Give me time to reload. My watch begins.
Come get Overwatch.
Overwatch.
Moving to Overwatch.
Still no action on the Lost turn, but a swarm will appear on the next one, and it looks like we won't be out of here by then. Still, this time we are dashing, so that no matter what happens we can extract everyone on the next turn, ideally though after killing just a few more enemies. The swarm will use its first turn to just show up and as far as I know won't be able to attack anyone, so in hindsight it probably would have been smarter to use the dashes on the previous turn and end this one on Overwatch, but I think we'll be just fine either way. And here it is, one final swarm consisting of 12 Lost. We'll take care of that, or at least try to, in just a second. First of all though, let's get our VIP out of here and complete that primary mission objective.
The VIP is with me.
Roger
We're on
that.
our way out.
Firebrand has the VIP. Commander, we should get the rest of our people to the extraction point as soon as possible. The longer we wait around, the worse our chances look.
And now, before we evacuate everyone else, let's see how many Lost we can kill on the way out, starting with our brand new ranger, Hussar Sobieski. One shot, one miss, again not a great first impression, so off you go, hopefully doing better next time. Maybe he can watch from above as Ranger Starfall Antec now takes aim, and does indeed get 3 out of 3 shots to land. Once he's roped off, it's time for Sharpshooter Smoo, and while his pistol shot finds the target, it's not enough to kill, so we'll have him make room for the next candidate, our other sharpshooter Sapphire West. She kills 2 and then misses the 85%er, so off you go as well, maybe our Reaper can finish things off.
Your friend will join you soon.
And indeed she can, it doesn't even get revealed in the process, and that actually marks the last enemy we can kill here, all others are just too far away.
Getting out of here!
So with Dragonova safely evacuated, it is now Schwaminian's turn, and then finally his bondmate Twitchy can make her escape.
All XCOM operatives are secure. Firebrand is returning to base.
Mission accomplished, Commander.
And there we are, mission complete. We have once again survived an encounter with the Chosen, and what a fight it was. 61 enemies have fallen over the course of this mission. Twitchy, Schwaminian and Starfall all took injuries, but no one came close to dying, so considering what we just faced, I would chalk this one up to be a full success, at the very least deserving of a nice group photo.
I certainly hope our propaganda effort is not funded from my research budget.
According to Advent officials, recent attacks by dissident elements operating outside of the city centers have done little to slow the progress of Advent's ongoing development or outreach programs. Voluntary citizen emigration numbers are reportedly at their highest level in recent years.
At least we know these Chosen can be killed. Well, temporarily.
And here we are, back at the base with the injury times revealed, and I think we got off easy here. 15 days for Twitchy are definitely annoying, but just 10 and 6 on Schwaminian and Starfall, so both of them should be ready to go again for at least the second to next mission. With Twitchy, we can now pick her Sergeant skill, choosing from Demolition, the ability to destroy cover but not damage the enemies behind it, and Suppression, the ability to reduce a target's aim and getting a reaction shot if it moves. Admittedly, both abilities are nothing spectacular, but especially in the early game, Demolition is a little worse, because as a Grenadier, Twitchy can destroy cover and deal damage at the same time, so we are going with Suppression, which does actually stack with itself, so reducing an enemy's aim by 100 points is technically possible with 2 Grenadiers. For some reason I also could not select it here, so we're doing that in just a moment. For now, let's move on to Schwaminian. Revival Protocol allows his drone to remove negative status effects, like Disoriented, so it would have been very useful a few moments ago, while Haywire Protocol allows him to take control of robotic enemies like turrets, for example. Both are useful, but we are building Schwaminian up to be a medic, so the choice is an easy one. Finally, we have our Reaper, who this time around comes with 3 abilities to choose from. The first is Target Definition, allowing Dragonova to mark all enemies she sees and have them remain permanently visible for the rest of the mission. The second is Shrapnel, improving her demolition powers with a damage and impact radius bonus to the Claymore, and the third one, not guaranteed to show up here, is Shredder from the Grenadier tree, allowing her shots to pierce armor. Now, I have to say, all 3 are pretty good, but I just can't skip Target Definition at this point. Having a Cloaked Reaper scout the battlefield and knowing the locations of all enemies at all times is just too useful not to get. So, that brings us to loot, where we can once again see that scope as well as the speed PCS. Now, a PCS, or Personal Combat Sim, is a permanent upgrade that can be given to any soldier, although once installed, for which we don't actually need to unlock anything, it cannot be removed unless overwritten by another one. This one here would give its recipient a bonus to speed, meaning movement range, and we'll have to see who might benefit from that. Arguably more interesting than that, however, is this list on the left here. Yes, with just one mission we have just acquired ourselves 2 soldiers, 1 engineer and 75 intel. And I would say, since we did not do it during the mission, let us now meet those characters, starting with engineer Isaac Schmidt, nicknamed Firefly, after the Patreon supporter of the same name. Isaac was living in New Zealand when the occupation happened. Stuck and with no family near him, he found a small group of resistance fighters and stuck with them. Years later, he's been all over the world, burned by Advent Purifier squads, and is hankering for some hope. XCOM is that hope. So, Isaac will now reinforce our engineering department, and that brings us to Bartosz B, nicknamed Smoo, again after the patron of the same name. Now, unfortunately, his biography was submitted in Polish, but translating it into English reveals what I think is one of the bios that the game randomly generates. Bartosz acts like a war veteran, but is reluctant to talk about his service to his homeland. A note from Central Officer Bradford: it's better not to tear up old wounds. So perhaps finding XCOM helps him overcome his trauma. He may have looked a little better already during the end of the mission. Finally then, we have Jan Hussar Sobieski, submitted by patron Artur Lemke. Once abducted by Xenos, recently freed and ready to fight for his country. That's what his short biography reads, and even though he did not really do a lot to impress us on that first mission, we also did not really give him much of a chance, which is likely going to change soon. Now, with Isaac, our 3rd engineer in our ranks, we now also have a few options. We could staff him in the infirmary to cut the 31-day building time in half, which strikes me as sensible considering our injured list, but we could also put him together with Baron von H to speed up the excavation of the alien machinery from 60 days to 30 days, meaning we could construct our next facility after the power relay a bit faster. Or we could use him to start yet another excavating project and perhaps speed all of that up by scanning at the skirmisher base as well. This is something that I would once again like to hear your thoughts on, and before we wrap things up for today, let's also quickly assign a few more abilities. What you can see here, by the way, is the detailed soldier lists mod I mentioned at the beginning, just a bit more information visible in one place, which makes things quite a bit more convenient, although I know that for people new to the game it can be a lot. In any case, let's quickly give Twitchy that suppression ability now. For some reason it is now selectable. Sharpshooter Smoo will then get his corporal ability. He did have the rank already, but the game did not choose an ability for him. And as always, we are going with Long Watch. I think that is just the way to go with almost all sharpshooters. Ranger Hussar, meanwhile, will not get a Blade Master and instead receive Phantom. Maybe we can build him up to become a bit more of a stealth guy. And I would say that's it for today. The video has been going on for long enough now, so we're leaving the next supply drop and the decisions that come with it for the next one. Again, feel free to let me know what you think we should do with our new engineer. Also let me know who you think should receive the speed PCS. And if you want to, you can also share your opinion about whether or not we should continue to scan at the Skirmisher HQ for increased building speed, or perhaps rather at the Reaper HQ to gather more intel. I am very much looking forward to your inputs, and as always I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.